Hey guys, Woody the Unexceptional Gamer, feeling pretty good right now. Anyway, it's Feedback Friday, a weekly series where I take your questions from Twitter and I answer them. Do it all the time, so it's pretty cool. This is from the PwnStar.com gaming session. I know it looks like I use this game already, but it's actually a separate game. They're not the same, it's just the same map. And I'm playing with him this weekend. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, probably on his Twitch channel. And it should be pretty cool. It's like all these COD All-Stars. PwnStar.com will be there. Marco J, I think, is going to be there. I'm leaving people out. I think Jay Nasty's going to be in that session. A bunch of guys. Don't expect me to lead the lobby, but it will be interesting to see who does lead the lobby. Like, I kind of want to see that, but I know it won't be me. Anyway, let's do Feedback Friday. Woody, how long until you think you'll have PKA live again? It was going to be this week. I was going to make PKA live this week and see how it goes. But our guest is special this time. It's Sage Francis. If you don't know, Sage Francis is like well known in the rapping and hip hop community. He's this beast. He does freestyle. He's won contests. He's like this legend. And I didn't want to experiment with this, you know, cross our fingers and hope we've got it solved type business this week with Sage Francis on the show. So that's why it's not this week. But maybe next week, you know, that's what I'd like. I feel like I've got this lick now, like I'm covering my tracks, and it's not so much of protecting myself from DDoS as it is to making sure that they can't find me. That's the way it goes. Like, the amount of bandwidth they're hitting me with is too extreme for me to stand up to it. It just has to be hiding better. That's the solution. And I think I've got that worked out, but, you know, we'll see. Opinion on No More Weapon DLC and what you would have wanted on new weapon DLC. So if you don't know, I think it was Vandahar. Someone from Treyarch tweeted out that the weapon DLC they did in the first time is a one-time deal. That the next DLCs for the rest of the year are not going to have new weapons. I loved the new weapon DLC, partly because it was the Peacekeeper, and I had a lot of success with the Peacekeeper, and I like it, and they managed to add a weapon without anyone thinking that the weapon either sucked, or was OP, which is, I think, pretty good, right? And that way it's not pay to win. But there's no more weapon DLC. To me, that doesn't mean that you still can't have good DLC. In my head, maps don't cut it anymore. Like, it's time to raise the bar, it's time to continually improve and do better and better. I wouldn't mind a new perk. You know, I don't know what that perk would be. I always joke that it should be a perk called Teabagger that forces you to watch the kill cam. But, like, in reality, I wouldn't mind if they had a new perk and see how that goes. I wouldn't mind if they had a new game type the next time they do a DLC. I'd like to see them do more than just drop a couple maps in the game and say, hey, here's your DLC, you know, live it up. No. You know, the weapon... And the fact that the maps were good, but the weapon also made the new DLC, like, add a lot to what that DLC package was. Everyone was thrilled. It was awesome. I was really happy. So when they do this next one, which will be the third drop, I hope it includes more than just maps. You know, throw us a game, a good game, right? Like one that's really thought out and might be as landscape changing as Hardpoint with regards to like how popular it is. Throw us a perk, a good perk that people actually want to use, but it doesn't become like OP. Throw us something in there that's an addition to the game that, you know, you might make as an annual addition to the game. That's what I really want. So there are my thoughts. Woody, will you ever post a Black Ops 2 Zombies playthrough, maybe the new Mob of the Dead? Yeah, I've done it before. Mostly I do it because I think the guys I'm hanging out with are really fun to listen to. You know, sometimes it's a short session, you know. Like Mercadurka, if you guys don't know, is really good at zombies. He's less excited about it this year, but he's really good at zombies, and he's really funny. So when I do a zombies post, it's usually something like a podcast-like vibe to it. And I'll probably do that again. You know, maybe it'll be similar to the Dead Space type of thing that I do. But yeah, I do want to play it. I might play it with subscribers in a live stream. The Mob of the Dead, to me, without having seen the DLC, looks like it's the diamond of it this time. It looks like that is the gem of this DLC pack. But we'll see. You know, maybe one of these maps is going to be so incredible that it changes my mind. But before it's released, it looks like the Zombies DLC is the coolest thing that's going on. I hope it is. I hope it lives up to my self-imposed hype. Are you planning on becoming an all-PC gamer, like switching from Xbox? No, what I actually do, and I started this last year, is I play the game on the platform for which it's rumored to be best. And that's it. The rule is as simple as that. When I got Borderlands 2, I got it for PC because it's supposed to be best on the PC. When I got Battlefield 3 again, I actually got Battlefield 3 when it first dropped for the Xbox, but when I started playing it again, I got it for the PC. When I play Call of Duty, I play that on Xbox. If something else comes out that's best on the PlayStation or the Wii U or something like that, then I'll probably target that platform. So I like that idea, you know, since I have access to all the platforms, I'll just play it on the one that's supposed to be best for that game. That's the thought. Woody, is learning to code hard? Did you find it difficult as you were working your way into being a programmer? I was a computer programmer before YouTube. Yes. Yeah, I found it to be really hard and kind of humbling. Like, it's being a computer programmer is a little bit like taking an intelligence test every day. And as you sit there and you learn it in class, you sort of stack rank against the other people on who's able to figure these things out the fastest, who's able to come up with solutions that are the most elegant. That is how like computer programming is, and it can be humbling. If you're used to like kicking butt in high school or never having any trouble with any of the concepts, maybe you and 4 other guys are always coasting and it's easy for you. When you become a computer programmer, you are surrounded by other people who are like that, and now all of a sudden it's not coasting anymore. Just being in their league is a compliment and a challenge. That's what it was like as I was coming up to speed. I remember this one project in particular. It was for my master's degree, and it had to do with hypercube routing. So picture networking, right? If you have 2 computers, there's 2 circles and a line connecting them, that's how you network 2 computers. There's no other answer, and it's completely simple. If you have 3, then it gets a little trickier, right? You can either connect them in kind of a V, where 2 computers don't talk directly to each other, they have to go through the middle one, or you could have all 3 connected to each other kind of like a triangle. You're probably keeping up with me at this point. Well, expand it to 9. How do you connect 9 computers together? Well, you know, you've got a couple of choices. You know, you can connect them all in a circle. That kind of sucks. There's a lot of hops going from computer to computer. You could connect them where 1 connects to all the other 8, and then the next one connects to all the other 8, but now you've got a ridiculous number of connections, and that's not really sustainable. The smart way to do it is with what's called, you know, a hypercube, and it just picture a cube, and every computer is at the corner of the cube. Now you have 9 points, because there's 9 points on a cube. Even though it's kind of a 3D square, there's 9 points on it, and you've got that, and then you route them from place to place. Well, after that, it gets trickier yet, because you start working with virtual cubes, cubes that are in 4 dimensions, cubes that humans, at least like me, can't even imagine in their mind. Yet, you know, you gotta go way past 9, so I start getting into these like 6-dimensional cubes, and I'm routing between them, and it's fault tolerant, so if one of the lines drops, it needs to go around it. And I coded it, and I thought I was a genius. I got it, and I was like, man, this is something that, you know, the bulk of my coworkers can't do, except for this one guy. And I spent like 14 hours getting this thing right. I was so proud of myself. And then there was this one guy who coded a better solution in 1 hour, and I was like, ah, God, you know, there's always somebody out there who's you know, who's better than you are. So yeah, it was humbling and it was difficult. But in the end, you know, you get pretty experienced and you know what you're capable of. And even when you don't know what you're doing, you've solved so many other problems that started off with you not knowing what you're doing that eventually you're like, I'll figure this out and I'll eventually be good. So, you know, that to me is how like my computer programming career went. I got to be where, like, this is so arrogant to say, but like if I was in a meeting at Cisco, right? It's a Fortune 500 company. From a technical standpoint, almost all the time, like, I was the smartest guy in the room. Like, that was my job. I'm the smartest guy in the room, and you know, everyone, even if they suggest something, like, that they look at me to make sure that that suggestion was a good one. So, you know, if you give it time and get some experience, then you'll be okay. And by the way, experience is a funny thing. I remember when I was a kid, I thought experience was crap. I thought everything was natural ability, you know? Who was good on the high school baseball team had a lot to do with natural ability. But over time, you know, when people are older and have actually developed real experience, a lot of it comes from who puts the work in and, you know, who's done it before. So that, whatever, experience is really valuable. I didn't know it until I was in like my 20s. What do you think about how your channel does more in real life stuff than gaming tips? Usually in real life stuff refers to like seeing people in person, and I do mostly games. But as far as the topics, it's less tips than it was before, and that's almost by design. And when new games drop and people need tips and I have something to add, then I do lots of gaming tips. You know, I'm sure in November for the next Call of Duty or the, you know, the next Battlefield, if I'm good at that by that point, I'll have tips to add. But for right now, you know, it's super difficult to give people tips that they haven't heard before. And if people have heard the tip before, they get mad at you. Like T-Mart's been doing jumps and spots for a while. And it used to be 2 years ago, if he did like six spots and people didn't know one or two of them, they're like, ah, thanks, man. That's awesome. That one's going to come in handy. Now they'll be like, oh, I knew 5 out of these 6. You suck. You money whore. You're horrible. Whatever. Like, you know, T-Mart sometimes gets beat up on these things, and especially the slums one, which was like 2 weeks ago. It was really good, and people were mad because not every single one of the spots was new to them. So anyway, you know, when it comes to tips, I once did a video where I said, hey, the last guy that puts a bullet into a car owns that explosion. You can either save your teammates' lives or you can, you know, kill an enemy. If I were to say that now, people wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that tip wasn't for me. They'd be like, fuck you, Woody, you goddamn money whore, etc. You're telling stuff I already know. And it just means that the window for tips, unless you're doing really specific stuff, like Drifter does like in-depth like weapons attachment analysis. Unless you're in that game, then people don't want to see your tips. So I kind of just keep the tips for when the game is brand new, and at this point in the year, unless I have something to add to the conversation, then you know, I find other things to talk about, because nobody wants to hear if you jump and crouch, you'll fly through a window instead of mounting it and the animation's better. If I were to give that tip today, oh my gosh, subscribers wouldn't like it. So I find other ways to entertain than just tips, because, you know, the tip market has really dried up unless you're doing those deep dives like Drifter does or like Xbox Ahoy does.